Hi, welcome to the Evolve with Intent podcast. I am your host, Joanne, and if it's your first time here, this podcast is a personal development platform that helps young people like you and me get their life together through conscious conversations in order to grow and become the best version of ourselves as early as we can. In today's episode, we have a very interesting topic and very exciting guests. I had a great time having these conversations with them. Our conversation today is generally about basketball. For those that have known me long enough, you know that I've played a little bit of basketball here and there through school. And I think about 2-3 weeks ago, I was with a friend and we were talking about this podcast and being a basketballer who is able to do something like this. And among the things they mentioned, something really stuck out for me. They were like, we should have more conversations to help young basketballers or young sportsmen transition into the real world, into real life, even while they're playing basketball. So I thought to myself, I was like, why not, by the way? Because, I mean, most of my friends are truly from the basketball fraternity, and it would be such an unfair thing for us to carry on with this podcast on as many episodes without having conversations that are actually directed to the real players today. So I had a lengthy, productive conversation with both Jimmy Enabu and Moureen Amoding, who, if you're an ardent basketball fan or player, I'm sure these are familiar names. And the reason as to why I chose these two individuals is because they are actual representations of what we intend to talk about in today's episode. How can basketballers or sportsmen transition into the real world after or even during their basketball careers? So the goal of this episode today is to help you, a young basketball player who is young and daring and hungry. How do you prioritize? How do you do the right thing at the right time? When is the right time to go big on basketball and maybe go less on these other things you want to do? When is the right time to prioritize on working on your career more than the game? So I do not want to hold you guys any much longer. Let's just get right into it. I appreciate you both for taking the time to be on this podcast. The goal of this episode today is to reach out to other basketballers, young ones of different age groups. It doesn't really matter, to help them transition into the real world after or during the basketball careers, really. Sorry, Jimmy, ladies first. Hi, Momo. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Moureen Amoding. I have played basketball for I don't know how long. I don't remember the years. I'm that old. I currently play for the Lady Jaguars. I'm a social worker by profession and currently working with Wakiso local government. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Great. Well done. We are very excited to have you. Hi, Jimmy.
Hi, Joanne.
How are you?
Uh, I'm good. How are you,
I'm
Momo? How are
fine.
you?
I'm
My name
fine.
is Jimmy Enabu. I play with the City Oilers. One of the founders of iHoops Basketball Academy. National team captain of the Silverbacks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I won't say how long. I've played, like Momo, because Momo says she has played for so long. I don't know what to say.
Okay. So, first things first, I want to know genuinely, what are your actual thoughts on the Ugandan basketball today? What do you make of it? How do you feel about the game today?
I think honestly the game, would I say it has grown for the women's side? For
Okay.
the guys' side, Jim is still tormenting us, so we don't know how to gauge the growth really. But for the ladies' teams, I see so much growth. I see more investors on board, people, the managers who are investing in the women's clubs nowadays. Like, I think we haven't been given the attention, or we haven't been given the platform that the Silverbacks have been given, but you can literally see that the women's basketball is somewhere, and it's something the federation needs to really put ahead of the Silverbacks. Not in bad faith, Jimmy, but the results speak for themselves. You can see that the girls, the team has really grown. Like right now, Maureen is off the team, but you don't feel the gap that much. Like people have really stepped up. The different clubs, the Nabisunsa we used to play those days is not the Nabisunsa we play today. You will see a difference that, you know what, people have really, really invested in these clubs, and there's huge growth that you can easily notice. It's not it's something to give credit to, especially for the people who are really putting their money in there. Then we used to play and we were not paid. I mean, people would pay guys teams and not pay ladies teams. Right now, I mean, I'm paid to play the game. I mean, money that can really take me a long way, you get, which wasn't the case then. So I would say the game has grown.
Right. Thank you, Momo. Jimmy, what do you think of
Yeah,
Ugandan basketball today?
yeah, I think Momo is right in many aspects.
Mm-hmm.
The game has grown. The women have definitely improved, maybe more than the men, and it shows in how they performed in the recent tournament in Kigali. How the Gazelles went and put on such a good show. I'll disagree with Momo. I think she was missed, but that's a conversation for another day.
Mm-hmm.
But the game has grown. How much it has grown is something that we can debate on. I think there is still a lot of room for improvement. If you're comparing how basketball was 10 years ago and now, I think there's a lot of improvement. And to think about tournaments like the BAL that have been introduced, I think that is changing the dynamics of sport, not only in Uganda, but in Africa. And just that one tournament is going to change the game even more. So there is a lot of room for growth, but we have to allow, we have to make it happen because it won't happen on its own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before I let you go, I wanted to ask you: would you say now, I'm asking you this as a player, really, not as a stakeholder or a fan, as a player, would you say basketball today is worth an investment, especially the time? Now, I'm looking at it in the space of you've played high school, you've played university at the university level. Would you say it's worth an investment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you something very interesting. Um, Many people, when they're playing basketball, say in Uganda, they
Mm-hmm.
don't look and don't set realistic expectations for themselves. And on top of setting expectations, they do not know how to meet some of these expectations and how to reach these goals. So if
Mm-hmm.
the young players are guided and they know, the path, the right path to follow, the right things to do, then it becomes a worthy, investment, something that you say, if I focus in this line, then I can really get something out of it. I'll give you just look at the girls' national team, the players that had an opportunity to leave and go and study abroad, and see how they've come back and represented their
Oh
country.
yeah.
Who knows? Like that's just one example. It's very clear because it's very recent.
Mm,
And that can happen to many other people
true.
as well. Yeah.
Momo.
Like Jimmy said, I think everything needs to be aligned well. Like the players need to be guided. Like for example, for me personally, I have an issue with managers that school players from senior six. You get senior
Mm,
six off to go and play for club basketball, yet they have opportunities to go to like to attain an education like in UCU, let's say
mm,
KIU, and all those opportunities that are veiled for
mm,
just a kid to go to school and just get an education while they are still sports athletes. And sport is a huge investment, and there's so much return of it only if you are very, very organized. There is no sponsor or investor who is going to come and invest in a sport that has a structure but does not believe in us in that structure that they have. Every club, I think, that has a sponsor, it's because their managerial structures are very clear. Their players are paid on time, even before the investor comes on board. Like, you're literally doing the things that you've promised to these players and to the managers and to the coaches. You get, everyone would want to be a part of something that is structured, that is organized. I mean, for all these years basketball has existed in this country, we don't even have a players association. You get, we can't stand up for ourselves and be like, you know what, I was given a contract and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. I need my fellow players to come stand for me. I mean, different federations have big circles. They're investing their money in savings and loans, and they are going a long way. So for me personally, I think we have not done we are doing ourselves a disservice. We haven't really utilized our opportunities well as basketballers, but it's such a huge sport is such a huge investment. All we need to do is organize ourselves, set these realistic targets, goals and targets, like what Jimmy has said, and be guided towards them. Focus on something and make sure you accomplish it.
Now, I want to talk about uh, the mental health part that comes with the sport. How have you found the mental scope of playing this game? Uh, I'd like to continue with Momo. For that, you said you don't remember how long you've played the game. How would you say? How would you share your experience of how the game has affected you mentally?
I, for one, I think I have more positives to talk about basketball when it comes to my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
First, mentally, I think I can take in just anything. I can, because of basketball, I feel I am a better decision maker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a better team player,
Mm-hmm.
and all those attributes kind of build your mental health or your discipline to take in stuff. Like, for example, on the court when you're playing, like, you know how how the game can be intense
Mm-hmm.
at sometimes, and these things honestly reappear or they resurface where I work, like my work environment. There are times when it's too much tension and too much pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and I am collected. Like, while everyone is panicking, for some reason I am not panicking, and everyone is like, what's up with this babe? Like, you're not seeing this, there is a problem here. I'm like, I'm seeing the problem, but I think of the solution more than I think of the problem, really. And I think this is something I learned because of basketball. Like, when there's too much tension on the court, when there's too much tension in the camp,
Mm-hmm.
like, what do? You look out for solutions rather than think about the problems. So mentally, for me, basketball has built me to
Mm-hmm.
be mentally stable in situations where there is too much pressure. Then I'm a better judge of character than I used to be. Like, because I have had to deal with so many people around the game, like, play with this player who plays a certain way, deal with this coach who has a certain idea that
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't know how he's going to put it into practice. Like,
Mo,
just
just
dealing.
Mo, sorry, just to cut you short. Now, have you had to deal with? I don't want to use the word toxic, but I'll use toxic. Toxic
Yeah,
teammates, coaches, like in
yeah,
the sense whereby everything just takes a toll on you because of the
yeah.
game.
Yes, I have. Like, one thing also basketball has helped me appreciate is the diversity. Like, Jimmy comes from a different background. There's a way
Mm,
he understands how to do his things.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way I understand how to do my stuff. There is a way my other teammate understands how to go about things. We are all totally different. It's just that we are looking at one goal, but how do we achieve this goal with our diversities? You understand? So, like, just being that one team player who has to suck in that, you know what, this my teammate is going to shout at me at this point. In case I ever did this and this happened, how am I going to take it? And in all honesty, I haven't been a perfect bunch, but trust me, it has built me. I have learned so much. And I've had to deal definitely with toxic like teammates. But I mean, understanding your teammates and understanding the point at which they come. You may call them toxic, but not necessarily they are toxic. It's where the game gets them. And
True.
the game gets us to different places. I mean, it can get you out of your element. In as much as I might stay calm to like 50%, maybe there is that one something that might trigger me. So I mean, I stopped looking at it as toxic, honestly, and I started understanding that, you know what, this person actually is coming from a point of they want us to win, but maybe they don't know how to put themselves out there without really getting out of their element. You
Mm-hmm.
get my point? Of course, there are those times I lose a game and I'm like, gosh, why am I even playing this game? Like, I'm a bitter loser. But again, I go back and I'm like, you know what? They give you a contract, you signed up for it. Then the next minute, I have to go back on the court and still play. I mean, yeah, there are highs and lows, but mainly it builds you to become a better thinker, a better disciplined person, self-drive. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Momo. So, Jimmy, before you answer, I want to give you this scenario. Um, I was telling Jimmy before Momo joined that the time I was playing, a lot happened, and I am such a conscious person that when I experience things, I can tell when another person is experiencing it too. So as of today, there's a lot happening here. I mean, besides the whole outside chill, there is playing time. There is like I feel like when you think deep into it, Mama mentioned something about the whole depression, and I feel like you see when you go for training twice a week, you want the coach to give you at least 10 minutes of playing time to show up on court. So Jimmy, I'm asking this because I feel like a lot of people think you're our Ugandan, I don't know, Superman or I don't have the right word to put it, but you get the point. So Jimmy, I want to hear from you. Would you say have you experienced issues of mental health as per the game where you feel like your esteem is crushed because you didn't play, or you feel very depressed that the game is not giving back to you as much as you're giving to it? And I feel like I'm asking this because a lot of players are experiencing this. They're not playing enough. You've signed with the team the whole year.
I think sports, and when I talk about basketball, I'm talking about sports in general. I
Okay.
think it's a very good character builder.
Mm-hmm.
So just to answer your particular question, yes. So there are moments, I think everyone, because you don't start at the top.
Yeah.
Everyone starts from down. The only time you start at the top is if you're maybe if you're playing in your particular age groups from childhood, and for some reason you're better than everyone. But even
Mm-hmm.
then, when you go to a higher age group, you'll have to somehow go back to the bottom. So it's very unlikely that people start from the top. So with that said, yes, there are moments where you feel like, you know what, I probably don't feel like I'm recognized, or I don't feel like my efforts are being rewarded. And for me, what the lesson I learned from sports is, first of all, those moments when you feel like, coach is not playing me, I've been training maybe 3 times a week, I'm not getting enough playing time. You have to look at the other side of it too. So remember, you're not the only one on the team. Secondly, the coach wants to win the game. I have
Mm-hmm.
trained, I've been training all this time, but am I good enough? You know, if I was in the coach's shoes and I had to make a decision, which decision would I make? So just trying to see things from a different perspective. These are things that sport can teach. It teaches you to look beyond yourself. but it also teaches you that, you know what, if I am really not good enough, what do I have to do? So you have to be as realistic with yourself as possible to get the best results. And that takes away things of, you know, I don't think I'm worthy. It just makes you realize that, hey, you know what, this is what's needed and I need to get it done. And so many things, you'll be able to overcome so many things, and you won't even drown in sorrow, because that won't even be your focus anymore. You shift the focus to maybe more practice, maybe smarter way of practicing, maybe looking for encouragement. And when you go through these experiences, you learn that there are other people who are going to need your help, because now you've been there before. So now you will know how to maybe advise, you'll know how to encourage, you'll know how to pick up your teammates. And yeah, I think that's the ultimate thing. When you guys are working together as a team because of what you learned and how you're helping other people through, then I think that's, you know, that's the real win in sports. Because many people think or believe that winning in sports is about winning championships, which is true. Like, you want to end, you know, the season with the trophy in your hand, but you know, there'll be another winner some other time. I don't even think people remember who won the championships maybe 10, 20 years ago, you know,
Yes,
but
guys are 8 time. We don't forget those things.
oh, you don't forget 8 times, but do you remember who won twice before us? I don't know if you do. You know, like, there's some things that are forgotten, but I'll tell you, most people don't forget good teammates. They don't forget moments when they were down and someone picked them up. Some people quit because of, you know, being down and no one picks them up. You get, and those ones stick. Believe me.
I
You
know.
know, if you ask me all the 8 championships, do I remember each and every one of them? I don't. I remember that there are 8, but I may not clearly remember all the details, but I remember particular moments that meant a lot to me. Something like that. Yeah, but I think sports is a great tool to teach, and I would really like, I wouldn't want people to give up because of going through the so-called mental health issues in sports. I think if everything is about perspective, approach, I think if people, or if the players understood that, you know, this is how you handle maybe the situation when it happens, and of course coaches and teammates have a lot to do with it, then we can save a lot of the negative energy that comes with sport. I'll just give you an example. When I was in high school, I had a teammate who was a bit older than us. So yeah, so this guy had anger issues, you know, but he meant well. So when he cools down after shouting, he'll tell you guys, I can't help myself. I yell when I'm angry. But I only beg that when I'm yelling, just pick out the message, please. I can't help myself. In the moment, I'm going to scream, I'm going to do all these things. My face is going to turn like this and that, but just pick out the message. And that stayed with me till today, because all he wanted to do was win the game. So yeah, he was all sorts of emotions, but he wanted to win. And believe me, we won with his approach. You know, it worked because we understood him. So and that's the thing. Like, if you understand there's different people that you're going to deal with, then you start to really see, okay, this one is like this one is like that, this one. Then you can just focus on the end goal and how you want to get there. Then these other things won't be as important.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
now that you mentioned that, do you think that sportsmen here need mental support? Do you think we should be having these conversations? Because, I mean, as much as you're able, and you and Momo are able to discern that and understand that maybe someone is coming from somewhere or they mean well, I feel like other people may not even have that, you know, they may not be able to process it that way. So, would you say we need mental support for sportsmen here?
Yes, we do. And not everyone means well on your team.
Mm,
And, you know, just having the ability to see who means well and who doesn't. But yes, they do, because sports is just like anything else in life. You know, they need support, they need to understand, and it's something maybe we haven't thought about, but it's very necessary.
Okay. Momo, talk to me
Yes.
about when's the best time to prioritize the game? I mean, you mentioned something about your career when you're introducing yourself. How were you
Mm.
able to get that together? So my question here is, when is the best time to prioritize on the game and less on your long-term plans, or more on the game and less on your long-term plans? Because you've built a whole career clearly, which I want to know how you were able to do that and still be, because I mean, you're a big name. Jimmy, we agree, right? Momo is a big name. When you say Momo, everyone knows her, but still, even on her career path, she's still someone. So, how did you get all that together? And how can a young person today do both or prioritize?
For me, Joanne, personally, I think it came down to what I really wanted to be after the game.
Okay.
I I knew for sure that I wasn't going to play the game until I was 50.
Mm,
But even then, I wanted to do something that brought more purpose to me, that gave me. I mean, as a social worker, I feel like in some way my purpose is fulfilled. Like my my motivation to just go out there in the community, impact on people's lives, and I mean improve someone's life, sensitize them about this life, give them a life skill. For me, it's something I've always wanted to do. But
mm,
I also knew that for sure, in as much as I love the game so much, besides playing it, I
mm,
had I had to understand that I needed to transit into something that was beyond the game. So going to school, I honestly didn't know what I was even doing. Like when they called me at UC and they gave me a scholarship in development studies, I think God has a sense of humor, because honestly, I didn't know what I was doing. But because there was a scholarship and there was an offer in development studies, I just took on the course. But it somehow perfectly aligned with the things that I'm really, really particular and interested in.
mm,
So after going through the course, I actually fell in love with it. I knew this is something I would definitely give time in case I wasn't on the court. It's something I would passionately do. So after my undergrad, getting a scholarship again back in UCU for my master's, I was driven with the fact that I knew for sure that I wasn't going to play the game for long, but also stepping out there and then finding things aligning to what my passion and purpose is what really has helped me prioritize. Okay, I wouldn't say I've prioritized the game over my career recently, like currently. I would definitely think my work definitely comes before the game.
mm,
But before then, I put the game first because it was aligning me to what my passion and purpose was.
mm,
And right now, honestly, tables have switched. But again, it comes from a personal drive. I can never come and tell you that, Joanne, you need to do this if you don't want to do it.
do
We all
it.
agree with that. So it comes down to one's passion, one's motivation, one's self drive to understand that, you know what, this is my calling, it's my purpose, but how do I work towards it?
Mm,
Basketball gave me an opportunity to just go after what I wanted. And then I prioritized it. I got what I wanted, but now I cannot prioritize basketball over over my work, because now this is something I see myself do. I see myself grow with it. I've just applied for my PhD just to continue like on the same path to see where if I can hit all the targets that I'm trying to align myself to. So I think it comes down to personal motivation, personal drive, like your purpose, what you really think aligns with your soul. I don't know if I make sense.
Yes,
But like,
yes.
to be honest, basketball was the number one lead to get me there. But now that it has got me there, I don't think I want to substitute it with basketball again. In as much as I play the game, I just have to learn how to prioritize better and know that if I have a work meeting and I have basketball, I am honestly not going to show up for basketball if because of what I really have to do on the other side. It takes a lot of discipline to juggle a lot of things like family, basketball, work. You know, the kids also need like your time as a mommy. Then you have a big baby who is the husband. I mean, it's it's a crazy juggle, but at the end of the day, it's it's about planning and also having people a support system that kind of understands what you do. Because right now, I don't expect to call my coach and be like, Coach, today I can't make it for practice. And then he's sulking about it. So
Mm,
I've had a good support system. My teammates understand me. My coach understands me.
okay. Thank you, Momo. When did you prioritize more on the game? I may have read somewhere in the newspaper that you're going to, is it called pilot school or something like that? So throughout your career, when did you prioritize more on the game and on, I'm sure the other things you want to do with your life, right?
Yeah. So interestingly, the way I look at basketball is it's a vehicle, right?
Mm,
So basketball, there is basketball playing in the league.
mm,
There is basketball or sport in different areas. So many people will just say basketball when they're talking about the league, but
mm,
you can become a coach, you could become a fitness trainer, you could do things around the game that are from you starting out as maybe a league player. So the playing in the league or playing at high school level, maybe campus, could lead you to maybe these other fields. So everything is timing. When you see maybe you have goals that you set for yourself and stuff, when you
mm,
see that, maybe it's time to make a transition, that's when you start to make the move. But now, like what's going on, for example, with me is I, I can still play, so I can still ride it out.
mm,
I'm not going to take myself out of the game when I can still contribute.
mm,
The team I'm playing for, yeah, can still pay me, So, and as it pays me, I can develop other parts of my career. So you see, you just kind of strike a balance and say, you know what, I can still contribute to the game, maybe in this capacity.
mm,
And as I transition, I'll use this amount of time to do maybe A, B, C. So it's an interesting dynamic, and as the process goes on, you learn, how to do it. I think Momo explained very well that, there's what they call purpose.
mm,
When you go to sleep at night, what have you done that brings some sort of fulfillment to yourself? Because there's doing something and you're like, I don't really want to do this. This is not what I want my life to be about. But when you have purpose, I think every night you go to sleep, you feel really good about yourself, and that's what's going to wake you up the next morning to
mm,
even do more. Yeah. So I think once you find that purpose, that calling, you know, unfortunately, basketball isn't as paying in Uganda as it is in different countries because there are so many people who are very passionate about the game and they give everything, but the reward for the time, the investment isn't as much as it should be or it would have been in another country. And I think that's what you're really trying to address. How much
mm.
are you putting in and how much are you getting
Get it.
out? Yeah. So most like we said earlier, if people understand the dynamics of how it works, then you will be able to see how much to put in, when to put in, and when to make the adjustment. And it's hard for me to advise or to tell people that do this, do that, because everyone has their own journey.
Mm,
But they have to, yeah, but they have to pay attention and do some research and really see for themselves what works for them. Because what works for me may not work for someone else, because everyone has their own journey, and how they want to go through it.
I get, because I was gonna ask you guys next. So when do you buy the car? If you commit to the game, when do you buy that new car or build that house? When do you take those trips? Because like Jimmy just mentioned, it really doesn't pay off that much as it does in other countries.
So about that, you can play basketball and have your 9 to 5 or any other job.
Mm.
Yeah, like I said, you figure it out, you find a way. And that's the interesting thing that you learn, even from these times of, oh, I'm not getting enough playing time, or maybe the coach doesn't like me. You figure it out. It's just a different kind of thing that you're trying to figure out. So you say, okay, I want to buy a car. What do I have to do? I need this amount of money. Okay, where am I going to get it from? How much time am I going to give to the game? Okay, and how much time am I going to give to maybe my work or whichever deal I have to crack to get this amount of money? You kind of figure it out. It's not like you're going to play basketball from morning to sunset.
See,
It won't
that's the
happen.
thing. Sorry, Jimmy. That's the thing I want you to throw more light on.
Mm,
For at least, I don't want to say I've been around the game long enough, but for the time I've been around, I
mm.
know at least. I don't mean to offend anyone, but for the time I've been around, I know that most basketballers, the only thing on their minds from, I don't know, the 12 hours of the day that they're awake is just basketball. So I think I need you both to emphasize more on the find yourself besides the game part.
Yeah, so I think being involved with people outside of your circle,
Mm-hmm.
seeing things from a different perspective is
Mm-hmm.
where this other side can develop. Because if you're going to be around the same people all the time, that's all that you're going to see, the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. So if you maybe, and that's the beauty about, say, having an off season. When the season is not going on, you have time to do other things, maybe time to travel, maybe go up country,
Mm-hmm.
time to do whatever research. And those who are going to school, you have a chance to study, see what another career would be about. And that's very, very important. And if teams can also extend something like that, then you can actually see that, I love basketball, I can play basketball, but it's not the only thing. And you realize that you're actually going to play basketball for a very short time of your life. That's just
Mm-hmm.
the truth. So
Right.
most of the other time won't be playing competitive. The longer part is going to be doing something else. It's just that basketball can make you fall in love with it, that you don't see anything else. But the earlier maybe you realize that uh, the shorter part of my life is when I'll be able to run around and shoot all these 3 pointers, maybe dunk the basketball. You'll appreciate the other parts of life.
Okay. Momo, say something. I'm sure you've noticed this pattern among basketballers. Uh,
Yeah,
both
like
that there is that bubble that we are stuck in. You only think of the 4 minutes, the adrenaline on everyone screaming your name, zero goals, zero dreams. Like you're just leaving the game, you know?
yeah, like I said initially, maybe at a certain age, honestly, you don't know what you really want to turn out to be. Like
Mm-hmm.
for example, a kid who is from senior six is in senior six vacation. It's hard for you to explain to them that you know what, you can actually play this game but attain an education. You get your papers right so that when the game is done, when you're done with it and you want to explore something else, you have something to put on the table. Unfortunately, I have a problem with managers who school players who have just finished their senior six, maybe this kid even passed, but they don't guide them and be like, you know what, go to Ndeje, play for us the league, and DJ you play for them inter universities, get a half scholarship, let me pay for you the half, or go to UCU, do your school for 3 years, because 3 years might seem like a long time, but I kid you not, it's a very short time for what you're going to achieve. You
Mm.
get. So I feel like managers and clubs need to get people who give people life skills, and in a sense of, when basketball is done, what next? You get life, like
Mm.
life coaches. They need to meet more of life coaches. Basketballers need that, because honestly, they are so sucked up into the game that it's plot for them, it's life for them. When there is no basketball, people are literally suffocating. You get it? They
Mm.
suffocate because they don't have anything else to do. Most managers are users. You're good at your peak, they are going to use you definitely. Everyone will want you. But I mean, when that time comes to an end, when you can no longer score the 30, 40 plus points you used to score, then what? You get?
Mm.
When
Mm.
no one wants you on their team, then what? We have seen like sad stories around basketball. I won't mention names. No one honestly wants to associate with them. Is it their fault that they're there? Without a doubt, it is. Because I talked about self drive. It's a very important aspect for any person's achieving in this life. But I
Mm.
mean, have the managers and the club owners done a good job preparing these people to transit from basketball to getting a life outside basketball? I don't think so.
Take an example for someone who has gotten the opportunity to go to UCU or and they done their bachelor's 3 years and they're out now. So what now?
No, like go out, look for a job, try. Honestly,
Okay.
getting a job is not easy in Uganda, but it's persistence. You know
Mm.
something, you wake up not wanting to do, but you must do it because you need to get somewhere. It's the self drive I'm talking about. And no
Mm.
one is honestly going to come at your door every morning to ask you, have you applied for this job? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? No one is going to do that for you. You need
Mm.
to sell yourself out there. Be like, you know what? I may have my insecurities. I might not have worked here. I might not have done anything, but maybe I have this skill that I think that can help me sell myself.
Mm.
Or maybe come together as a group of friends, start up something, try and
Mm.
sell it to the world. Like I said, sport is such a magnet. It can pull just anything. Because
Mm.
one, everyone knows any sports player or any sportsman or woman has the ability to stay disciplined, focused, and consistent. That's something that every sports person does.
Mm.
So these are attributes that any employee would want, any employer would want. You get in an employee.
Thank you, Momo. Jimmy, imagine a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, or 23 just got done with their bachelor's at KIU and they're a very good basketball player. So what now in regards to both their career as a basketball player and life as a whole?
If you can, because of now, like the men's league in
Mm.
Uganda right now is a bit like it pays a bit. Okay.
Mm.
When you come out of school or throughout your school time, at least you should have an idea of what you're studying and what you would like to become.
Mm.
And when you get out of school, as you play basketball, look for a job or look for extra support. Even if you're going to volunteer, at least get some work experience,
Mm.
meet people, and this is the good thing about basketball. You get to meet so many people. And sometimes it's not only your qualification that is going to help you, but the number of people or the kind of people that you meet. So just having that in mind and, just thinking beyond those lines on the basketball court, you're
Mm.
thinking about more and more, then I think just the attitude, the mindset of knowing, I can do more. I can be a basketball player, but I can also be a lawyer or a doctor
Mm.
or a businessman, you know, or a model, whatever you want to be. There's really no limit to it. Yeah, just having that in mind, I think will determine how far someone can go.
As we wrap up briefly, uh, say something to a imagine a basketball player at which team? Let's see, Umo Flames. They're young and daring and hungry and they want to shake your hand, Jimmy. What would you say to them?
I'd say enjoy, like, don't forget to enjoy every day. Give your best as you play, as you go through whichever endeavors. Um, you have to be able to walk through life or go through life and leave no regret. And as you do that, accept the fact that you will make some mistakes, but use those mistakes as, building blocks, things that you can learn from, and also learn from the people that are ahead of you, the things they did right, the things they did wrong, so that you can kind of, shape your path in the right way.
Okay. Thank you, Jimmy. Momo, imagine a young girl at our savior Banyevo. You're concluding to wrap up. What would you tell her? She's looking at you like, oh my God, I want to be like Momo.
I would tell her to work hard.
Mm,
Uh, write down those goals and and work towards them. Focus on them. Of course, enjoy yourself
mm,
because you're young. Enjoy yourself. Make your money. I feel like decisions are easier when you're empowered.
mm,
So empower yourself. Look out for opportunities. Go after them, and basically know that before you want someone else to give you whatever you want, you can actually work towards getting it for yourself. And when you get it for yourself, I think decisions are made better. Like an empowered mind is a mind that has no insecurities around it. So I feel like every girl needs to be empowered, uh, to go after whatever they want to go after, do all the silly things, and live with no regrets, really. Yeah. But mainly, importantly, just grow to empower yourself and kill all the insecurities around you.
all right. Thank you, Momo. You. Oh, and by the way, I also got a chance to have a sit down with Coach Nick Natuhereza, who is a renowned and successful basketball coach in Uganda. I honestly believe that today's conversation wouldn't have been equally impactful if we didn't get to hear from someone who's been here long enough and has coached the game for a while on how to help these players transition into the real world. Hi, Coach Nick.
Yes, how are you, John?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I am well. I am well.
For making the time. I appreciate it so much.
Mm.
We met you yesterday when we had this conversation with Jimmy and Maureen.
Mm.
Yes, but I appreciate you still making the time to be part of this episode. Do you mind introducing yourself? Let's assume there is someone who doesn't know about you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Nicholas Natuhereza. I'm a head coach of UCU basketball. That's both the Cannons and Lady Cannons. I'm also the assistant coach for the women's senior national team, the Gazelles, and I also have a position with the federation as a technical director. Basically overseeing development, and yeah, been part of basketball for the last 20 years plus, 13 as a coach. Yeah,
Nice.
and I'm still enjoying the journey.
So the goal of this episode today is to reach out to young basketballers out there to
Mm.
help them understand why and how they should transition into the real world while they're still doing sport or after or at any point of their lives. How do we help them
Yeah,
or do both at the same time
yeah.
so that they survive out
I
here?
think so many of our sports people go into sports and sometimes fail to balance that with life outside sports,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe fail to marry the two. So I
Mm-hmm.
think this is a good initiative. Hopefully, it reaches as many people as possible.
I want to understand
Mm.
how did you know that coaching was it for you? How did you find yourself to say, because I mean, you're really good at it. I mean, I, there is any basketball player who doesn't know about Coach Nick. So I want, when did you know? How did you find out? How can one say, now this is it for me and I want to do with my life?
Yeah, it's funny. When I finished school, of course, I had played some basketball at university with the UCU team.
Mm.
So when I finished, I was at a place probably in regards to the last couple of questions about you're finishing university. Now
Mm.
what are you going to do? I did communication at university, so at the time I was thinking about how do I get my skills from school into building maybe a career in broadcasting, especially things like production of documentaries, all that stuff.
Mm.
But then somehow, so that's how I left university. That was really what was on my mind. I wasn't thinking about, oh, I'm going to play basketball for this team, for that team, or I'm going to go into coaching. No
Mm.
idea whatsoever. So I go home, and the new year comes. I had started kind of like an assistant coach in my last year of school.
Mm.
Because, like I said, I wasn't really good enough to command a lot of playing time on the team. But then I also got injured in my last year of school. So at that
Okay.
point, I said, you know what, let me focus on finishing school. But I was still part of the team. I would go along with the team for games. And then eventually, I started kind of coaching, assisting with coaching, because that year our head coach, Jason Mill, had left, moved on back to the US. And then
Mm.
we had one of our players, senior players, in Robert Mugabe, who was like he was like a coach player at the time.
Mm.
So because of that, it was a tough balance for him to be able to coach and play. So I would help out on the bench as, I would say, an assistant coach
Mm.
during games and sometimes during practice. So I cannot say I mean, I liked it, but I did not have this idea that, oh, I'm going to become a basketball coach. No. So that year ends, we go back home while I'm still trying to figure out, what to do, looking around for opportunities. I'm called back to UCU to, I think someone at the director of students affairs at the time
Mm.
observed when I was or as I was an assistant coach, and said, maybe Nick could take on coaching. Who knows? So he calls me up and says, not to mention also some of the players actually. I think actually one of the players who had at the time, Ivan Enabu, basically the Enabus. They also said, I think you should consider coaching. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Then also after that, I'm called by the director of students affairs at UC at the time, who was, and I'm like, wait. So a number of people have told me about taking, this coaching thing serious, which I'd never seen in myself really. But I really loved basketball. I was always fully invested in basketball, following, leagues, NBA, college basketball. I had followed even our local league from when I was in high school. So I had a decent understanding of basketball.
Mm.
Like, okay, so I come to UCU, talk with the director of students affairs, and I'm like, okay, let me see. I go to a coach's clinic, I remember, right, even before I ever took on the position. And then they tell me, you know what, our position is open here. We're not sure who is going to coach next because, the coach player thing didn't work out so well. We prefer that Robert continues to play full time. He was also a
Mm.
student at the time. So I'm like, okay, let me try it out. Why not? So I came in as, let me try it out. And fortunately for me, it went well because that year we did well in the league. Being my first season, I was happy about that. And then I started pursuing ways to be better, to grow as a coach. And like they say, I think the rest is history. I got more engrossed into coaching. My life became about basketball pretty much 24/7. Yeah.
Now, I really feel like you you've achieved so much at such a young age, and to understand what are like the key attributes or key things you've held so close that you would say have brought you to where you are. They could be like beliefs or things you
Yeah.
actually hold with so much value that have brought you to where you are today, that you feel like young people today have not
Yes.
are sleeping on. Really, they're not even trying to embrace them, they're just moving around for. So I want to
Yeah.
know you, what are those things you've embraced and mastered that have led you to where you are today?
More than anything, I think it's my faith in God,
Mm-hmm.
because for me that's the most important thing. So I don't really see myself pursuing so many things that are outside that. Basketball for me is like a platform for me to glorify God in whatever, whether it is coaching, whether it's winning, name it. For me, it's a platform for me to be able to impact people, but also most importantly for me to glorify God. And I think that has given me discipline
Mm-hmm.
to to focus on things that matter, to live on purpose and intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, there are things I don't do. I don't go out clubbing. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't chase women. I don't.
For real?
There, yes, yes. I've
Okay.
never. I don't take. I don't go. My going out is going to a basketball game or maybe watching a game, but I don't know which are the latest joints in Kampala that are trending. I mean, honestly, that is. I'm mostly engrossed in things around basketball and my faith. When I have an opportunity, I go to church. Of course, I don't go every Sunday, but yeah, those are things that keep me grounded. And also the things I want to do down the line. I think need a lot of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just shared. I don't think you achieve all that without discipline. And if you're going to excel, if you look at all the people that are excelling and the highest percentage of whatever field they're in, whether it is a doctor, a lawyer, I think you really have to be disciplined. And I've tried to do that, to stay intentional and not allow so many things to come and distract me. But all that starts with my faith in God, and what I think my responsibility is to those that I work with. My players need a good example, need leadership, and I don't think I can do that when I'm scattered and all over the place. So yeah,
Now, in your concluding remarks, one, if
yeah,
you were to a player today to get it
yeah.
together, they don't have to waste time. They don't even have the time to waste. And then maybe the coaches who are walking in your footsteps or the ones that look up to you. There are many young coaches today that say, I want to become like Coach Nick.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think for me, for the players, it depends on what level you are right now. If you're a very young player, like yesterday, what I was talking to the under 18s, that they have a lot of time to grow. That's one thing on their side, that they can always work hard and be better every single day. If you're already a senior player, probably you're trying to figure out how to maintain, your level that you're playing at. But of course, there's always room for improvement as well on that level. So I think one of the biggest problems I see with our players is the work ethic. We don't really have a good work ethic. We don't understand how to stay committed to working to be better every day. Many of the players you see stay the same for a long time
Mm,
until they even retire. So I think discover that passion that can motivate you to work hard to be a better player every single day.
mm,
That applies to a player who is in high school, a player at university, and a player in the league.
mm,
Also, find something that you can look up to. If you say, I want to play for the national team one day, what is it going to take? A lot of hard work.
mm,
But if you don't have that North Pole, so to speak, to aim at, it will be
mm,
tough for you to work. You're just going to be coasting, probably playing and not growing much, and eventually the competition will catch up with you and you will be cast aside. So find something to motivate you to work towards. If it is I'm in high school and I want to get a university scholarship, work towards that. If I want to play for the senior national team one day, work towards that. If you want to play for the youth national team, work towards that. If you're playing in the league right now, you're already a mature player and you want to get a chance to play maybe even beyond Uganda, work extremely hard. But if you have no dream or target, it's going to be tough for you to grow, and obviously the game gets more competitive every day and it will be tough for you. Also, look for opportunities that sports and basketball, in this case, brings that are not necessarily just about being a great basketball player. Being part of a team is something that can help you to grow as a person. And the discipline. Even people out there, employers are looking for people who have those qualities. Are you a team player? Can you keep the discipline of keeping time, being committed, being dependable? Those are things that sports teaches us every single day, that if we actually take them serious and take them on, they will help us to translate into life outside basketball. So I think that's what I would say for the players. Have a dream, work towards it, and take all the opportunities that sports and basketball give you to be a better person down the line, when you're going to get a job, when if you're going to be a husband or a wife. I think all these things translate from basketball to all those aspects of life. So hopefully basketball can be an avenue for you to be a better person that has greater impact, not just to yourself, but also to the world and the people around you. For a coach, first and foremost, understand that you're a leader. I think it is said that a coach has more influence on especially young people than even their parents and their teachers. I think we need to be looking at ourselves like that, because kids are passionate about sports or basketball in this case, and they're going to try and find it. They need to find someone who is going to lead them in a proper way.
True.
To use basketball as an avenue to better themselves. Like I've said, there are so many lessons you learn through sport and through basketball that help you become a better person and a responsible citizen. So if as a coach you're not in that place where you're giving them leadership to get the best out of the opportunity they have, then I think you become someone that is not helping them. So away from saying I want to coach the national team, I want to be the best coach in the country or in the world, that is where it starts from. Be a leader. Let the players you're coaching get that leadership and guidance from you, and let even the people around you give you that respect from that perspective first. And then of course work every day to be better. The game grows every day, the game evolves, and we need to figure out a way to be better every day as coaches, both on the court. How do we help our players improve on the court? How do we help our teams come together to win? Because that needs a lot of leadership. And try to enjoy the journey and look at it from a standpoint that you're growing every day. If you're like me and I use basketball to glorify God and impact my society positively, so be it. If not, then start to look at things from that perspective. How much impact do you have on the world around you by virtue of being a basketball coach?
Now, you're on this podcast as say goodbye.
Yes. Yes, this has been a very interesting and nice. I could do it all day. I could do it all over again, and I'm glad and thank you for the opportunity to give me a voice to speak up to anyone out there that might benefit from what I've said and from this podcast, and I'm hoping that it will reach as many people as possible. I'm hoping this is the first of many on sports and its impact. And I wish you, of course, joy and the best in your journey. Hopefully, this is something that you take and make it bigger and bigger. I think the sky is the limit. In Uganda, so many of these platforms, I think, are still young and they can do so much. So I think this is a way to start, with what you have. This could be a big time, show on a big screen, but this is what you have. So I think I applaud you for starting with this. Hopefully you also keep growing and learning, and we can have this be big and hopefully have impact and help many young people to be better.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you making the time. I don't know about you, but a lot has been said, really, and I am so glad that we are able to have these conversations. For me, this is, I keep saying this, what a time to be alive, to have to hear from people that have done it and nailed it, and we get to hear from them firsthand, at no cost, right? So, basically, if there is anything I thought that stuck out for me that I thought I should repeat for you is watch the company you're keeping for you to even figure out exactly what it is you're doing, because I feel like basketballers, we tend to spend a lot of time around each other, where you all really are just worried about the new shoe or the jerseys you're wearing. Like it's such a small circle that there isn't as much wild dreams as there is in the real world. So your only worries are, do I get playing time? Do I have a new shoe for a new season? Or so. First things first, I think one thing I picked out from whatever Moureen and Jimmy said was watch the company you're keeping. The more time you spend around these people, you're more likely to keep thinking that the sky is a new shoe or being on the starting five. As much as, of course, these are like big dreams, there is a life outside being on the starting five, really. The other thing that stuck out for me is once you are in a position to get that education, you finish high school, you're lucky enough, you end up at UCU or at any of these universities, KIU, whatever. While you're at it, find out exactly what it is that you want to do with your life besides the game. I've met people who are good at like very many things in my mind, and I'm like, you are so lucky that you're good at soccer, you're good at basketball, you're good at badminton. Even just away from sport, you find when they're really extremely good at something else, and I'm like, there is us who are only good at one thing, and we're really struggling to find, breakthrough with something else. So while you're doing your university education or whichever education you're acquiring, as you play basketball, please find out what it is exactly that you want to do with your life. Like, away from the game, if you haven't listened to my episodes before, please go listen to them. You need to find yourself. I think it brings us back to that part. Self-discovery. Find who you are. Find who you are called to be. But in the first place, I said I first had this conversation initially with a friend who brought the whole idea. One of the things that they mentioned was that as players, we need to set timelines. You want to play basketball, you're really good at it, but of course, you're aware, that there is life outside the game. You need to set a timeline to say, I'm going to play ball for this period of time, and after this period of time, I'm going to do something else with my life. Like, when do you move on to the next chapter? You're not going to be, because another thing I keep reminding myself is that there are new people coming into this thing. If I'm doing this podcast today, this year, next year there's going to be another person doing a podcast. Like, if I don't get it together, I'm going to have people coming and doing better than I am. So it's my job to do this, get better at it, and keep improving all the time. So as you play, you need to understand that if you're 25 today, there's going to be 23-year-olds who are playing better. Like, you need to prepare yourself for that change that you're probably scared of, that you want to avoid. Like, you need to set a timeline and say, I'm playing basketball for 5 years. After the 5 years of whatever it is I'll be doing, I need to shift my focus to something else. And like, don't be stuck in that stagnant headspace of thinking, I'm here, it's comfortable, everyone knows me, people take selfies with me. Like you need to think outside that whole bubble. One last key point that I really want to emphasize to every basketball player that is listening in here today. You see, when we go for those games, whether you're playing in the lower division or NBL or at whatever stage you're playing, even if you have 3, 4, 5 fans that root for you, I need you to try as much as you can to reach them on social media. I'm going to use an example of Fayed. You see, when we were watching City Oilers games, literally the entire arena screams Fayed's name. If only Fayed could tap into that and put himself out there every single day on social media, Fayed has the potential of getting a ship deal from, I don't know, maybe a clothing company or any betting company or any sport-related companies that's looking to get mileage around there. But I feel like as a basketball fraternity, we're really sleeping on it. And this isn't just about Fayed. I know every basketball player knows that they have their group of fans that just really love their game, the way they play, the way they dunk that ball, the way they shoot that ball. But I feel like it's a gap that we are not fully exploiting. So as much as we are saying that there is low investment from outside bodies, it is our part to also market ourselves. Momo, I think, mentioned it, that it has a huge potential for an investor to come. We need to get organized. So as a player, put yourself out there. Like imagine yourself like a movie star. You're playing for this team and you're the baddest guy on the team. If you got a friend of yours to record every game of yours, maybe those were short clips of you making baskets, you will be shocked. In a period of 6 months, you'll be shocked on the returns on how much people you will have gained online to even get to a point of convincing, let's say, Plascon to come on board and say, oh yeah, you have 10k followers on Instagram. Yes, we'd like to sponsor you to make for us an ad, to make this. As in, while we are investing in it, we also have the potential to make money off of it. So embrace social media today. These platforms are free. I get some of you may be introverted, but I mean, if you're not sharing about your personal life and just the game, I don't think that should harm you in any type of way. So find a friend who really doesn't stop watching your games and ask them to film you. Use your phone, yeah? Film yourself, put yourself out there, and who knows what could happen anyways. Your thoughts on this podcast and your goodbye remarks before we go to Jimmy?
I think, Joanne, first of all, I want to say thank you to you, your podcasts. They are very inspiring, especially for the little girls who haven't seen these things. Like, you're too contemporary. Like, you speak of things that are literally happening in this life. And I know Ugandans, we are not podcast people. We are not good readers.
Mm.
But I would really encourage everyone to read because you're doing an awesome job. I don't know how you're not on CNN yet. Talk about your whatever you're doing. You're very inspirational. Don't stop doing whatever you're doing. And in case you ever lost hope, give me a call. I'll try to pull you up, like drag you back to whatever you're doing. But you're doing an awesome job. Keep pushing. I know something big is about to happen for you.
Thank you, Momo. Thank you so much for saying that. Jimmy, your thoughts about this podcast as we wrap up?
Yeah, Joan, thanks first of all for the invitation.
You're welcome.
When you asked me to be a part of it, I agreed immediately because when I saw what you're doing, I just believed in it. Like this is gold, and this is what people need. Seeing young people like yourself doing things like this is also inspiring to me. And this is the way. This is exactly what we've been talking about. And to say that you played basketball as well, makes me happy because at least now you can see someone who played the game and is thinking the way that you're thinking. This is the line that we need to be going, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you both. You should see my face right now. I appreciate you taking the time. So as we wrap up this episode, I hope you learned a thing or two as a young basketball player. My prayer for you is that you figure things out as early as you can. You don't want to get to a point where you're bitter or angry, or you feel like you've invested so much in the game and it hasn't given back to you, because clearly, realistically speaking, we all know in Uganda it doesn't pay off that much. The goal is to stay in love with the game, but at the same time, while you figure out what it is exactly that you want to do with your life and chase it unapologetically. So I hope you learned a thing or two. If you haven't listened to any of my episodes before, please go take some time. You will learn a lot to help you piece things together to make sense of today's episode. I appreciate you taking the time, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.